Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, where everything you're about to hear and see has been done in one take. I am your host, the One Take Man. It always dawns on me that this intro would be more interesting if it weren't just some guy sitting against a white wall talking about stuff. But regardless, this is the thing I committed to, and this is the thing I'm sticking with. In today's video, I'm going to talk about how I would remake the Suicide Squad movie. I already did a video on how I would remake the whole DCU, and don't worry, I'm not going to do a video like this for every single movie, just now I want to talk about my thoughts on this one. And I think my thoughts on this one could work both in the DCU as, as has been made, and in my own variant of the DCU. If you'd like to know what that is like, you can go ahead and check the video for that on my channel. Before I can go into how I would remake that, I would like to, when I remake the Suicide Squad movie, I want to go into what made the Suicide Squad movie fail initially. A lot of things, but there are four major problems. Number one is the actual concept. In the DCU, as in the original movie, this squad was conceived as a way to counter Superman level threats. However, that doesn't work because no one in that team is actually at Superman's level. Except for maybe the Enchantress, except maybe. And even then, given she went rogue on the given she went rogue with the first opportunity, not a good idea. Anyway, what should their motivation be instead? Well, I want to take the same one from the comics. They are basically a Black Ops unit. They do the U.S. government's dirty work, and if they get caught, then the U.S. government can say, "We didn't send them there. They just went ahead and did that on their own. That had nothing to do with us." And the best Suicide Squad stories deal basically with it. Deal basically with them being pariahs, being expendable, being nothing but tools for a more heartless organization that presents itself as benevolent. So yeah, that is one thing I want to focus on. I want to retain. Second problem, it's disjointed. Not necessarily in the sense that the editing is pretty bad, though that doesn't exactly help. The fact that a trailer company made a final cut. What I mean rather is that the story itself is disjointed, because there is no direct connection between the character arc, between the character motivations, and the actual narrative of the movie. So that is something that needs to be fixed. Problem number 3: the Joker is superfluous. DC wanted to replicate the lightning in a bottle that occurred when they cast Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight. They thought that by taking some guy who was more well known for lighter roles and giving him a serious role, that would create the same wonder, the same awe. It didn't. It failed spectacularly. So yeah, I'm going to cut the Joker out of this movie because he really doesn't serve any purpose. And number 4, and I've written it exactly as I'm about to read it out: waste of Waller. I'm talking about Amanda Waller, who put a team together. For those of you who don't know, Amanda Waller is, in the comics, is very knowledgeable when it comes to political sciences, and is an expert on game theory, which is a branch of mathematics that deals with motivations, with systems, with intentions, and with and tries to predict outcomes based on that. That's the long and short of it, and that is what Waller does best. She knows how to manipulate people in order for them to do their bidding, in order for them to see that the goal she wants to achieve is also is also a tool for them to reach their goals. When I first heard that Oprah Winfrey was rumored to be cast in the role, I was like, yes. I was really looking forward to that because both they actually have a lot in common. Both Oprah and Amanda are black women who come from disimpoverished backgrounds. They have similar looks, also, and they both use their connections to the connections they formed with other people to get ahead in the world. The difference being how they employ them, and or rather to what end. Oprah wants to build a community around her and attract and give her sympathy and show sympathy to her audience and to the people she talks to. Waller wants to use the motivations of these people, of other people, into doing her bidding. She is very adept at finding their motivations and twisting them in such a way that they conform with her plans. And in a way, she is very much a dark reflection of Oprah, and that is what I wanted to see. That is what I thought would be very interesting. But regardless, it's time I go now to do my movie. I'm not gonna go too much on casting. Actually, I'm not gonna go at all on casting. Instead, I'm gonna go on my main crux of my story, which is it should focus not just on the team going out in the field and doing crazy fun stuff, but it should also focus on Waller trying to keep her team together and convince her higher ups that this team is viable, is a good idea. We're not gonna start the movie with her negotiating that. We're instead going to start the movie in a prison for supervillains, a prison where the warden or deputy warden is Rick Flag. He gets a visit from Waller. He reads her file, says he is suspicious in her plan, but will collaborate regardless because that is what he was ordered to do. And she gets shown the prison and where the prisoners are and how they are detained. This is where you can add some initial characterization to the team. You can have a Flag read out their file, and also we can see their cell, either how they personalize it or how it's been modified to keep them there. For example, Deadshot can who is the master marksman, can have blackout contact lenses chemically bonded to his eyes and also only receive plastic cutlery. So even if he were to think about harming other people, he has no means to do so. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Also, it gives us an opportunity to showcase that Waller also has guts, not just brains. For example, when they walk to Killer Croc's cell, Killer Croc might lunge at them. Flag could take a half step back, but Waller should stay in place. Just in order to showcase that she is not just smart, she's also tough. She doesn't scare easily. So anyway, she collects her people. They don't get too many guards. The guards are pretty well equipped. They are and they are pretty relaxed when it comes to handling them. Even Killer Croc just goes in a cage and has like 4 guards around him. That's enough. They go on their first mission, which is to find out why a nation in Central America has decided to go full isolationist. So they don't have any diplomatic ties, any cultural ties, any economic ties with any other country on the planet. Why did they do that? Well, that's for the Suicide Squad to find out. They get dropped off somewhere in a neighboring country. They sneak into the actual isolationist country itself. Go into the capital, get to learn how other people live. Maybe have them react to their living conditions there. Flesh out the people there a bit more. Then, when they are about to get into the government buildings and find and stop the figures in charge, they get detained and are brought in front of the leader. Not the officially appointed leader, but the actual behind-the-scenes leader who orchestrated this isolationist movement, who would also be the main villain of the movie. Who should this main villain be? Well, ideally, this character should be at their first appearance on the big screen, should have the necessary levels of power and influence to where they can convince a nation to go this isolationist, and they should ideally attract enough attention that they might potentially come back in another movie. And the one villain I think fits these criteria best is Vandal Savage. Those who watch Legends of Tomorrow might remember him as the big bad of Season 1. For those who don't know him, Vandal Savage is an immortal supervillain, who in the millennia of his existence has been involved in pretty much everything. From conspiracies to assassinations to extortions to human experimentation, you name it, he's done it. In this case, he is doing political manipulations. He has a bit of banter with the squad. And then he explains his motivations to them, and then locks them away so they can be publicly executed sometime later. And from this point, I think the story can go on 2 fronts. Front number 1 is Waller trying to convince her higher-ups that her project is still viable, because on the one hand her team could still succeed, and even if they don't, they could still gather other supervillains to do the exact same thing. At the very least, they just get rid of some supervillains, which is generally good on the one hand. And on the other hand, this movie would be about the actual Suicide Squad itself breaking out, reaching out to Waller and her support structure, and trying to take down the whole state machine that Savage built around himself in order to enforce his rulings. The team eventually succeeds. Not everyone survives, because shit happens. After they're done, they are brought back to the U.S. They get their desires fulfilled, or rather, they get what they agreed to receive in exchange for this mission. And Waller gets the assurance from her higher-ups that this team is still a viable idea. However, if they die, then the unit is terminated. No one else is going to get recruited. Movie over. Post-credit scene. We see prisoner transport arrive at the in the supervillain prison. Namely, we see one guy who has like 8 guards around him, is strapped in place with multiple straitjackets, and even has a very restrictive helmet on his head. As soon as they reach his cell, the guards just drop him in. He immediately shakes all of his, all or most of his straitjackets loose. Before he shakes the last one off, we can see he has purple clothing underneath. Then he goes to take off his helmet. Cut to black. Maniacal laughter. Yes, this is how I want to introduce the Joker to the DCEU. Because we've seen that even Killer Croc, with the proper conditions, can be held in place by 4 guys. This time we have one guy who is restrained basically beyond sanity, who still needs 8 guards to make sure he doesn't do anything stupid, and when his cell is reached, they don't want to get too involved with him. They just dump him in. So that should establish how much more dangerous he is, even when compared to our nefarious evildoers who we've been following throughout this whole movie. Yeah, this is what I'd want to do with a Suicide Squad movie. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for your attention. Once again, I have been the One Take Man.